The forest shuddered that night, not from the storm that clawed at the mountains, but from something far more extraordinary. Deep in the wilderness, where human footprints fade and nature writes its own rules, a single cry pierced the darkness. It was the sound of a baby, trapped in a maze of twisted metal and shattered glass. But what approached through the shadows wasn't rescue workers or park rangers. It was a massive brown bear, her 9-inch claws glinting in the moonlight, her hot breath visible in the frigid air. What happened in the next 72 hours would challenge everything we understand about the animal kingdom. This isn't just another tale of survival. This is the story of how an apex predator made a choice that would leave hardened scientists speechless and rewrite our understanding of consciousness in the wild. When the bear found the baby, she didn't follow nature's cruel logic. She did something that would shake the world to its core. The evening sun cast long shadows across the winding mountain road as Sarah and Michael Anderson began their journey down from Pine Valley Resort. In the back seat, their 6-month-old daughter Emma slept peacefully in her car seat, her tiny fingers wrapped around her favorite stuffed elephant. The young family had spent a wonderful weekend celebrating their 5th wedding anniversary, their first vacation since Emma's birth. Michael gripped the steering wheel a bit tighter as the weather began to change. Thick clouds rolled in from the north, bringing an unseasonable chill to the September air. The radio crackled with warnings of an approaching storm system, but they were already halfway through their descent. Sarah checked her phone, but the mountain peaks had already cut off their connection to the outside world. The first drops of rain tapped against the windshield like nervous fingers. Within minutes, the gentle rainfall transformed into sheets of water that reduced visibility to mere feet. The headlights struggled to pierce through the darkness that had settled over the forest like a heavy blanket. Their SUV crawled along the narrow road, its tires hunting for grip on the increasingly treacherous surface. Sarah reached back to adjust Emma's blanket, smiling as their daughter continued to sleep, unaware of the deteriorating conditions outside. The car's heating system hummed softly, creating a cocoon of warmth against the growing storm. Michael switched to an even lower gear as they approached another bend in the road. The danger arrived without warning. A fallen tree branch, concealed by the rain and darkness, lay across their path. Michael spotted it too late. He jerked the wheel, trying to avoid the obstacle. The SUV's tires lost their battle with the wet road. Time seemed to slow as their vehicle began its terrible dance. The world outside became a blur of shadows and rain. Sarah's scream mixed with the horrible sound of tires fighting for purchase on the slick asphalt. The guardrail appeared in their headlights like a silver ribbon. Metal met metal in a violent symphony of screeching and tearing. The airbags exploded in white clouds as the SUV broke through the barrier. The vehicle tumbled down the steep embankment, each impact sending shockwaves through the frame. Glass shattered. Metal crumpled. Tree branches clawed at the falling SUV like hungry fingers. Emma's car seat, secured by its sturdy anchors, remained fixed in place as chaos erupted around it. The vehicle finally came to rest on its side, nearly 100 feet below the road. Silence fell over the wreckage, broken only by the steady drum of rain and the occasional creak of settling metal. Steam rose from the crumpled hood, mixing with the mountain mist. Emma, protected by her 5-point harness and the car seat's advanced safety features, began to cry. Her wails echoed through the twisted cabin, but no comfort came from the front seats. The storm continued its assault on the mountains, washing away signs of the accident. Up on the road, tire marks were already fading under the relentless rain. The fallen branch had been pushed aside by the impact, leaving no obvious clue to what had occurred. The broken guardrail was barely visible through the curtain of water and darkness. Emma's cries grew louder, carrying through the broken windows and into the surrounding forest. The sound traveled across the wilderness, through ancient trees and over moss-covered rocks. Her tears mixed with raindrops as the temperature continued to drop. The car's engine, now silent, no longer provided warmth against the mountain cold. The wreckage lay hidden in the growing darkness, invisible to the occasional car that passed on the road above. Emma's stuffed elephant had landed near her feet, just out of reach. Her small hands reached for it as she continued to cry, her voice growing hoarse. The forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting. No one saw the large shape moving through the trees. No one heard the sound of heavy paws pressing against wet earth. No one witnessed the approach of a creature that would change everything. The night grew deeper, and somewhere in the darkness, ancient instincts stirred. In the depths of the forest, a massive brown bear lifted her head into the wind. Her keen nose sorted through the familiar scents of pine, wet earth, and decaying leaves. But tonight, something different rode the storm winds, something that made her pause in her nightly foraging. A sound, high and distressed, carried through the rain. It touched something deep in her primitive brain, awakening memories of cubs in danger. The bear changed course, moving through the forest with surprising grace for her size. Her powerful muscles rippled beneath thick fur as she navigated the steep terrain. Rain rolled off her dense coat as she followed the mysterious scent. Years of motherly instinct guided her steps, drawing her toward the sound that grew clearer with each massive stride. The wreckage appeared in her vision like a foreign creature in her territory. The bear approached cautiously, her nose working overtime to process the unfamiliar smells of gasoline, hot metal, and something else. Something alive. The crying grew louder, and the bear recognized it now. It was the sound of a young one in distress, not unlike the calls of her own cubs from seasons past. She circled the twisted vehicle, steam still rising from its ruins. Her claws clicked against fragments of glass as she investigated the strange object that had invaded her forest. The bear stood on her hind legs, reaching her full height of over 8 feet, peering through the shattered windows. The crying seemed to pull at her very core, triggering instincts that went beyond species. Inside, she saw movement. A tiny form, strapped into a strange nest, waved small arms in desperate motion. The bear lowered herself back to all fours and moved closer. Her hot breath fogged the remaining glass as she studied the situation. The baby's cries had softened to whimpers at the sight of the massive creature, curiosity temporarily overwhelming fear. The bear's maternal instincts surged forward, overwhelming her natural caution of human objects. She could smell no threat, no other living beings in the vehicle. Only this small, helpless creature that called to the deepest parts of her being. With careful precision that belied her enormous size, she began to work at the wreckage. Using strength that could easily bend steel, the bear showed remarkable restraint. Her massive paws, capable of killing with a single swipe, moved with surgical precision. She cleared away loose debris, creating a path to the baby. The metal groaned under her careful manipulation, but she worked with the patience of a mother tending to her cubs. The remaining glass gave way under her efforts, creating a larger opening. The bear paused frequently, studying the baby's reactions, seemingly aware of the delicate nature of her task. Her movements became even more gentle as she got closer to the car seat. The scent of the child grew stronger, mixing with the smells of fear and cold. Emma had stopped crying now, her blue eyes fixed on the enormous creature that loomed over her. Perhaps it was the exhaustion, or maybe some ancient recognition of a mother's presence, but she showed no fear. Her tiny hands reached out toward the bear's fur, drawn to its warmth and presence. The bear's nose gently touched the car seat straps, her sensitive whiskers determining their structure. With dexterity that would astound researchers, she used her teeth and claws to carefully work the restraints loose. The car seat's design, meant to protect against violent crashes, yielded to her patient effort. Finally, the last strap came free. The bear hesitated, as if understanding the gravity of what she was about to do. Then, with infinite care, she gently gripped the baby's clothing with her teeth, using the same carrying technique she had employed with her own cubs. Emma remained surprisingly calm as she was lifted from the wreckage, perhaps sensing the gentleness in the bear's actions. The massive creature backed away from the vehicle, moving with extraordinary caution. She held the baby as if carrying the most precious thing in the world, which, to her awakened maternal instincts, it was. The rain had lessened to a gentle drizzle, and the bear's bulk sheltered her tiny charge from the remaining droplets. Standing in the darkness of her forest, the bear had made a decision that would challenge everything humans thought they knew about wild animals. With her precious cargo secure, she turned toward the deeper woods. The night wrapped around them like a protective blanket as they left the wreckage behind. Through the wilderness, the bear moved with deliberate care, carrying Emma as gently as a glass figurine. Each step was placed with precision, the massive creature choosing the smoothest paths through the rough mountain terrain. When branches hung too low, she would duck and turn her body, ensuring her precious cargo never brushed against them. The gentle sway of her movement had a calming effect, and Emma drifted between sleep and peaceful wakefulness. The forest floor transformed beneath their passage, changing from wet leaves to rocky grounds to soft pine needles. The bear avoided the steeper slopes, taking longer but gentler routes through the wilderness. When they needed to cross streams, she found the shallowest points, her powerful legs ensuring stable passage. The baby's warmth against her fur seemed to fuel her protective instincts, making each careful step feel natural despite its strangeness. Midnight passed, and the storm clouds began to break. Moonlight filtered through the canopy, casting silver patterns on the ground before them. The bear's fur had protected Emma from the worst of the rain, and now it served as a barrier against the dropping temperature. The child's small hands remained curled in the thick fur, finding comfort in its warmth. Their journey took them deeper into the bear's territory, where human sounds never reached. Other nocturnal creatures fell silent as they passed, sensing something extraordinary in this unusual pair. A great horned owl watched from its perch as they moved beneath its tree. A family of deer froze mid-browse, their instincts confused by the sight of the forest's most fearsome predator, carrying something with such tender care. Finally, the bear approached her den. Located beneath an ancient fallen cedar, the entrance was well protected from the elements. Years of use had worn the earthen floor smooth, and dried vegetation lined the walls. The space inside remained warm and dry despite the recent storm. Here, she had raised several litters of cubs, and her maternal instincts had transformed it into a secure shelter. With utmost gentleness, the bear placed Emma on a bed of soft moss and leaves. The baby stirred, but did not cry, perhaps feeling the security of this natural shelter. The bear circled her charge several times, adjusting the bedding with her paws, creating a nest-like hollow that would keep the child warm. Her massive body provided an additional windbreak, ensuring no cold drafts would reach her adopted cub. The bear settled herself near Emma, close enough to share her warmth but careful not to crowd the small human. Her presence filled most of the den's entrance, creating a living barrier against any threat that might approach in the night. She watched as the baby's eyes grew heavy, tiny fingers still holding onto strands of her fur. Through the long hours until dawn, the bear remained vigilant. Every small sound from Emma brought an immediate response. A gentle nudge with her nose, a soft rumble of reassurance. When the baby grew restless, the bear would carefully adjust the bedding, her movements showing a delicacy that defied her size. The night passed in this way, a remarkable vigil of protection and care. As the first light of dawn began to paint the forest in pale colors, Emma slept peacefully in her unusual sanctuary. The bear had done something unprecedented in the natural world. She had not only rescued a human child, but had created a safe haven for it. Her den, which had sheltered generations of cubs, now harbored a different kind of young one. Morning birds began their songs outside, but inside the den, bear and baby remained in their peaceful communion. The bear's eyes never left her charge, her powerful senses alert to every small movement, every tiny breath. A new day was beginning, and with it, the next chapter in their extraordinary story. As morning light filtered through the forest canopy, the bear's care for Emma revealed behaviors that would astonish wildlife experts for years to come. Like a mother with her newborn cub, she stayed constantly aware of her small charge's needs. When Emma grew hungry and began to fuss, the bear's protective instincts drove her to find nourishment suitable for such a delicate creature. The forest around the den became a natural pantry. The bear used her incredible sense of smell to locate the sweetest, ripest berries growing in nearby thickets. With surprising precision, she would pluck the softest blackberries and raspberries, gathering them in small piles near Emma. When the baby showed interest in the sweet fruits, the bear would carefully nudge them closer, watching intently as tiny hands reached for the food. A remarkable discovery of a wild beehive provided another source of sustenance. The bear, normally aggressive when harvesting honey, showed extraordinary restraint. She meticulously cleaned her paws in a nearby stream before gathering small amounts of honeycomb, ensuring no angry bees remained attached. She would then present these sweet offerings to Emma, who eagerly accepted the natural sugar source. Perhaps most astonishing was how other forest creatures began to participate in this unprecedented arrangement. A family of raccoons, normally wary of the bear, sensed something unusual in the situation. They began leaving small, ripe fruits near the den entrance. Even the birds seemed to understand, as a pair of blue jays regularly dropped tender berries from the branches above. Inside the den, the bear created an environment of remarkable comfort. She continually refreshed the bed of moss and soft leaves, using her nose to arrange the materials into a perfect nest. When temperatures dropped, she would position herself to block any cold air from reaching Emma. During warmer moments, she would shift to allow cooling breezes to circulate through the den while maintaining her protective watch. The bear's gentleness manifested in countless small ways. When Emma would grasp at her fur, the massive creature remained perfectly still, allowing the baby to find comfort in the contact. If Emma began to crawl, the bear would create barriers with her body, keeping her charge safely within the den's confines. Each interaction showed a level of awareness and care that challenged everything known about wild animal behavior. Water became another showcase of the bear's incredible adaptability. Rather than taking Emma to the stream, she would gather water in her mouth, carefully letting it dribble into large leaves she had arranged into natural cups. She would then hold these makeshift containers steady as Emma drank, showing patience that seemed impossible for a wild creature. The bear's maternal instincts extended to keeping Emma clean. Using her tongue, she would gently groom the baby as she did with her own cubs, though with even greater care. She seemed to understand the fragility of her charge, using the softest touches to maintain Emma's hygiene. When the baby needed soothing, the bear would produce low, gentle rumbles, similar to the sounds she used with her cubs, creating a sense of security and comfort. Perhaps most remarkable was the bear's ability to interpret Emma's different cries. She learned to distinguish between hunger, discomfort, and the need for attention. Each type of cry received a specific response. Hunger brought food-gathering expeditions, while distress prompted gentle nuzzling and protective enclosure. The bear even developed a way of playing with Emma, carefully moving pine cones and soft leaves within reach, watching with apparent satisfaction as the baby interacted with these natural toys. As hours turned into days, the bear's dedication never wavered. She remained constantly vigilant, yet her fierce nature had transformed into something extraordinarily gentle. When Emma slept, the bear would keep watch, her massive head resting near the baby, warm breath providing extra warmth. During wake times, she showed infinite patience with Emma's grabbing hands and curious explorations. The den became a sanctuary where the boundaries between wild and human seemed to dissolve. Here, one of nature's most powerful predators had chosen to become a nurturing guardian. The bear's behavior went beyond mere protection. She had created an environment of love and care that would have been unbelievable if not witnessed by the events that would soon unfold. The search for the missing Anderson family intensified as dawn broke over the mountains. Rescue teams spread across the wilderness, their calls echoing through the valleys. Police helicopters circled above the winding mountain roads, powerful searchlights cutting through the remaining morning mist. The discovery of the broken guardrail finally gave them their first clue. From the air, the helicopter crew spotted the wreckage hidden among the trees. The sight below them told a grim story of the vehicle's violent descent. Ground teams rushed to the location, their hearts heavy with what they expected to find. But the scene presented a puzzling mystery. The baby car seat, though empty, showed no signs of trauma. More puzzling were the large bear tracks around the vehicle and the careful way the wreckage appeared to have been opened. Forest Ranger Tom Martinez noticed something unusual in the patterns of local wildlife. Animals were behaving strangely, particularly around a normally quiet section of the forest. Reports came in from other rangers about a large brown bear seen carrying something with unusual care. The detail that caught their attention was unprecedented. Raccoons, normally nocturnal, were active during daylight hours, carrying berries toward a specific location. The rescue teams followed this unusual trail of animal activity. As they approached the area, they moved with extreme caution, knowing they were entering the territory of a full-grown brown bear. The sound that stopped them in their tracks seemed impossible. A baby's laugh, followed by the gentle rumble of a bear, echoed from a den beneath a fallen cedar. What they witnessed next would make headlines worldwide. The massive bear emerged partially from her den, positioning herself protectively at the entrance. But instead of aggression, she showed something remarkable. She seemed to be watching them, evaluating their presence. Inside the den, Emma could be seen, playing contentedly with a pile of soft leaves, completely unharmed. Wildlife specialist Sarah Thompson took charge of the delicate situation. Rather than rushing in, they observed as the bear continued her extraordinary care of the child. They documented how she had created a safe, warm environment, provided food, and even arranged for water. The bear's behavior defied explanation, showing a level of nurturing that went beyond basic animal instinct. The rescue required careful planning. They couldn't risk startling the bear and triggering her protective instincts. Using techniques never before attempted in rescue operations, they began a slow approach. The bear watched, but remained surprisingly calm. It was almost as if she understood that these humans had come for her small charge. Emma's parents, who had survived the crash and been rescued earlier, were brought to the scene. The bear's reaction to their presence astonished everyone. As Emma's mother softly called her daughter's name, the bear slowly moved aside. She maintained her protective watch, but allowed the approach of these particular humans, perhaps recognizing something in their scent or behavior. The reunion brought tears to the eyes of even the most hardened rescue workers. Emma reached happily for her parents while also patting the bear's fur, showing no fear of either species who had shown her such care. The bear remained close, watching the interaction with what observers could only describe as maternal attention. The documentation of the bear's actions would fill research papers for years to come. Scientists gathered evidence of her remarkable adaptations: the carefully gathered berries, the water collection system, the softened bedding. All spoke of an intelligence and nurturing instinct that transcended known animal behavior. Photos and videos of the bear's gentle interactions with Emma would challenge everything understood about wild animal capabilities. The story of Emma Anderson and her bear guardian swept across the globe, capturing hearts and challenging scientific understanding. News outlets worldwide broadcast the incredible footage of the rescue, showing the gentle interactions between the massive predator and the tiny child. The images of Emma sleeping peacefully in the bear's den, surrounded by carefully gathered berries and soft leaves, became a symbol of nature's unexpected capacity for nurturing. Scientists flocked to study the phenomenon, establishing research stations near the bear's territory. They documented unprecedented behaviors that rewrote textbooks on animal cognition. The bear's ability to adapt her caregiving to a human infant demonstrated levels of intelligence and emotional capacity previously thought impossible in wild animals. Her careful selection of safe foods, creation of clean water sources, and gentle physical interactions suggested a depth of consciousness that transformed our understanding of animal behavior. The Andersons never forgot their daughter's miraculous survival. They became passionate advocates for wildlife protection, sharing their story to promote conservation efforts. Emma's bear, as she became known in the media, continued to show interest in her former charge. During supervised visits arranged by wildlife authorities, the bear would approach the observation areas whenever Emma was present, showing clear recognition and the same gentle demeanor she had displayed during those crucial days. Research teams observed lasting changes in the local ecosystem. The bear's unusual behavior had influenced other forest creatures, creating unique interactions between species that normally avoided each other. The raccoons continued their fruit-gathering behavior, and birds seemed more tolerant of larger predators. The forest itself had become a living laboratory, demonstrating nature's ability to adapt and form unexpected alliances. Universities established long-term studies in the area, focusing on animal cognition and interspecies relationships. The bear's actions challenged traditional scientific beliefs about the rigid boundaries between wild and domestic behaviors. Her ability to recognize and respond to an infant's needs, despite the species barrier, suggested possibilities that researchers had never considered. The government took extraordinary steps to protect this unique situation. They designated the entire forest region as a special wildlife sanctuary, with the bear's territory at its heart. Rangers maintained careful watch over the area, ensuring the bear's peaceful existence while allowing controlled studies to continue. The site became a symbol of conservation, drawing attention to the importance of preserving wild spaces and the remarkable creatures within them. As Emma grew, her connection to the forest remained strong. Her early experience seemed to gift her with a unique understanding of wildlife. The bear, even years later, would emerge to watch from a distance when Emma visited, maintaining their mysterious bond. Their story inspired children's books, documentaries, and scientific papers, all celebrating this extraordinary example of cross-species compassion. The legacy of those 3 days in the forest continued to influence wildlife protection policies worldwide. The bear's actions had demonstrated that the natural world held mysteries and capabilities beyond human understanding. What began as a tragedy transformed into a testament to the power of maternal instinct and the remarkable intelligence of creatures humans too often underestimated. Stories like Emma's remind us that the natural world holds endless mysteries waiting to be discovered. If you want to witness more incredible tales of survival, unexpected animal behaviors, and the remarkable bonds that can form between species, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our channel brings you daily documentaries about extraordinary animal encounters, heartwarming rescue stories, and groundbreaking wildlife discoveries that challenge everything we think we know about the animal kingdom. Join our growing community of nature enthusiasts and be the first to experience these amazing stories that prove truth can be more remarkable than fiction.